Verbal reasoning is one of the toughest sections, and you might even be scrambling to get it to a sufficient level right now. That's why today I'm making a video to show you how I tackled this section. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Darren, a first year medical student studying at Monash University here in Melbourne, Australia. Today we'll be talking about the verbal reasoning section of the UCAT. And again, I'd like to thank Medify for kindly giving me a free account to showcase their question banks and their mock tests. And later in the video, I'll actually be using their verbal reasoning questions to show you guys how I tackle this section. Now, also a very special announcement. Medify has actually granted me 2 tickets to their live classes, which I will be handing out, well not handing out, but I'll pick 2 of you guys to get those tickets to those classes, and we'll go a bit into those tickets and how to win them right now. As you can see, Medify has these 2021 classes which cover the entire UCAT course, and they have instructors who know the course in depth and have strategies and techniques for doing well. And they also have a bunch of homework problems which are exclusive for people who go to these classes. If we look a bit more in depth at what these classes involve, you guys can have a read yourself. This is just under the UCAT section of Medify. I'll leave a link in the description below. So we'll have a look at the schedule. I've picked A and Z, but if you guys watching from the UK, once again, just go to the website and click UK to see the dates for yourself. And these are the various times available for you guys to attend, and they're all quite a bit away. So the way I'm going to hold this is essentially I'm going to pick 2 people to go to these classes, and kindly and very generously the tickets are free, which is really nice. And if you guys would like to be entered to be picked for that, just comment below. I will ace the UCAT in the comments, and I'll pick 2 people who I will let you know in the next video. Today's video will be split into 2 parts. The first part is quite short. I'll just be giving you guys like an important psychological tip for verbal reasoning and for the entire UCAT as a whole. And in the second part, I'll be talking about how I tackled verbal reasoning and then demonstrate that through a couple questions. Enjoy. Psychologically, verbal reasoning is pretty hard because it's fast-paced. You have to read, you have to find information, so you're constantly working the entire time. But what pushes it even higher up is that it's the first section you have to sit. So even if you're nervous and even if you feel like, wow, overwhelmed, you still have to try your best to stay calm and do well in this section. So the best way I recommend, and I also kind of go through this in my test day experience, is that don't feel forced to start the test immediately. Sit there and really prepare yourself for the verbal reasoning section. Envision yourself going through those questions. Think about the fast pace that you had to take all those questions in your practice, and really sit down and prepare yourself for that. When you feel completely ready, when you feel in the zone and completely focused and ready to just go at full speed straight away without sort of wading your way into it, then that's when you should click start test and let that minute begin. Because in the UCAT, the moment you stumble, especially if you stumble at the beginning, you fall behind a lot, and it has an impact on your later questions as well. Now onto my approach for the verbal reasoning section. I won't go into the different types of approaches because you've probably heard that from other people and you've probably seen it from your friends as well, how they take the test differently to you. For me personally, the way I took it is that firstly, I would scan the text, but like not quite scan it as well. So the only goal of my scan was to see what the text was about. So I wouldn't go all the way through if it wasn't necessary, but essentially I'd identify, is it about war? Is it about a desert? What is it? What is the text about? And that I feel like grounds the text a bit more in my mind, which is quite helpful. So I kind of know the subject matter that it's talking about. And then next I go straight into the next question. So, the first question. So as I look through the first question, I find keywords or basically keywords, and then I go back into the text and see where the information might be. And as I read through it, I would sort of think about what each body paragraph is about. For example, if the whole subject was a war, and I would be thinking, okay, so this paragraph is about why the war began. This paragraph is about the casualties of war. This paragraph is about who ended the war. And so in later questions, when I get questions about, okay, this many people died in the war, I would know which paragraph to return to, and that sort of streamlines my scanning process, rather than reading the entire text over and over again. Now, this process of categorizing the paragraphs of the text doesn't happen at the start, as it sort of happens as I go through each question. Because as I go through the first 3 questions, I'll probably be looking at different parts of the text, and slowly I build this categorization of the entire text as a whole. So to make it more clear, as I do question 1, I might just read through the first 2 paragraphs, and I've categorized those in my head. As I do question 2, I might read the last paragraph, and now I know what the last paragraph is about. But that means for the later questions, I kind of know where they have to sit, and that makes my process even faster. So I'll go through a couple questions now with you guys. Here we return to the familiar site of the Medify homepage. We have the 3 sections: Learn, Practice, Simulate. Essentially, Learn is where you learn the strategies and different types of questions. Simulate is where your mock exams and subtest mocks are. And Practice is where you have access to the masses of questions that Medify provides. If you'd like to see me attempt some quantitative reasoning questions, please check out my previous video, which I made about a week and a bit ago. Okay, so let's dive into practice. We'll do 2 untimed verbal reasoning questions, so I can show you guys how I practically apply the strategies I was saying before. Right, so I don't look at the questions, I go straight into the text, and let's see what it's about. Govern the way the universe works. C. It's just about elemental laws, and I think alpha is the main point here. Alright, so then I go into the questions, knowing what the text is about. In the sentence, as the first question, we're no closer to an answer than we were at the turn of the century, as to the first question. So where is this sentence first? As to the first question. Where it comes from. So it'd be where it comes from. Where it comes from? So the puzzle containing its origin. Which of these best reflects the author's general attitude towards the fine structure constant? So what's a fine structure constant? Underappreciated is the main point here. So I just looked for where it's mentioned, and as a sort of categorization as I'm doing along the way, this first one seems to just be introducing the fine structure constant. The second one just talks a bit more about it and this guy's opinion about it, and the third one is more opinions and how people are progressing and the troubles associated with this fine structure constant. Which of the following is best supported by the information passage? Most of the decimals, I'm pretty sure that's false because I saw here it was 12 and 13. I read that before. 100 years ago, I'm not too sure. That should be easy to find though. Alpha can be represented in a number of ways. I'm pretty sure that's false. And that's probably false as well. Because these two are true, pretty similar. Are they? But yeah, let's check B. Was developed approximately 100 years ago. I don't think it mentions 100 years ago. Can be represented in a number of ways depending on the unit of measurement. Variance of alpha. Pretty sure it's this one because where is it? It said it's everywhere, right? Ubiquitous means it's everywhere. Is a pure number with no dimensions or units. It wouldn't be C, so it's D here. According to the passage, most scientists agree that I don't think it's A because the whole point of it's probably B, probably C, not really D. I don't think it should only be represented in this way. Fundamental constants. Cosmic chance, I think, is C. It's not A. B is just not really the point. And D, I don't think it has to be shown in that way. It's a bit of an absolute, so we'll move on. So let's have a look at the passage. Most inconsistencies of the English language. So it's about this group of people, and they do different stuff about the English language, I think. Alright. So I need to find the main topic. That scan doesn't give me enough to answer this question, so let me go a bit more in depth into it. And I don't like reading the answers before I look at the question in this scenario, because it will probably influence how I see the text as a whole. So this seems to be about if language can be likened to an ancient city, fleet of bulldozers. So they're trying to reform spelling. There's different groups. One major newspaper began to use new spellings. All right. History of organizations. Yeah, I think it's just different organizations. I don't think it's the origins of that. I think it's C. And I can go back to that as I learn more about the text, because that's a question that I kind of need to know the text in depth about. But the next couple of questions will give me a better idea of the text as a whole. What does your thing is ironic about the pioneer? Okay, where does it mention? I saw pioneer. So I know paragraph 2 is about simplified spelling society, and paragraph 1 as well, so I can kind of skip paragraph 3 there. And I just saw the pioneer here. So capital letters stand out. What's ironic about it? What does the author think is ironic? Where is the author's idea about this in the book? A regular outlet in the form of their journal. I don't think it's C. Spelt words in the standard way. Probably A. Okay, yeah, despite the title of the journal. Whoops, so it'd be A. What would the traditional spelling of praise and prejudice? Pride and prejudice. I don't feel. How can you judge this from in here? You'd sort of have to know that when you from your own knowledge. Praise. Actually, praise. I think it's praise and prejudice. Both a negative and positive press. Probably be praise and prejudice. Oh, actually, does this tell me how to decipher it? No. Okay. Anyway, next question. Which of the following supported spelling reforms according to the passage? I don't remember seeing many of these anywhere, so I'd kind of have to go through it again. Alright. Supported spelling reforms. I don't think it's question 1, paragraph 1, because there wasn't much about other sort of companies there. So let's have a look at. Oh, remember in paragraph 3 actually, they were about people who use the new spelling or not. So then I skipped straight to paragraph 3. And that's what I mean about categorization saving you time. In April, who ordered the study? Sadly for the reformers, later that day, Congress. So it's definitely not Congress. Whose editor sat on the. Actually began to use these new spellings. So the Chicago Tribune. Yeah, that just seems right. Alright, let's see how we did. So essentially with my strategy, I scan and then I do the questions, and as I do the questions, I categorize more and more of the text. Nice, so we got all 8 correct, which is pretty good. Obviously the time was a bit longer than we would have liked, but the result is nice. Thank you guys for tuning into today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. So that was basically how I take the verbal reasoning section. I scan it first, and then when I go through the questions, I mind map parts of the text so that when I get to new material, I know either where it is or I know where it isn't, which is quite useful as well. So then I don't have to go backwards and start scanning things over and over again. Now with verbal reasoning, you sort of do the best you can. If you miss some small words, it's sort of an oh well situation, but try and minimize those as much as you can. Once again, with the giveaway, just comment I will ace the UCAT in the comments below and you'll be in contention to win one of those tickets. Good luck for your UCAT testing, and I hope the second week of school is going well for you guys, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.